how to move HTTP to HTTPS version. This is very important because modern browsers will soon display warning messages for websites not using SSL certificates. I'll be using WordPress, but you can simply follow these procedures if you're using different content management systems. First thing to do when you're moving your website from HTTP to HTTPS version is to do backup. So what I'll do is show you different approaches, as in what I do for my clients. phpMyAdmin, you need to 110% make backup by logging into phpMyAdmin, press on export, press on custom, and simply press on go to have a backup of your database. Another thing that you need to do is go to Tools in WordPress, press on Export, select all content, and then press on Download Export File. Furthermore, there is many different programs to copy your website as well, such as HTTrack. You can simply press on Next, give the URL of your domain, and make a backup there as well. And finally, make sure that you also have FileZilla installed and you're able to access your website simply by logging in. Okay, so let me log into my domain to show you FileZilla. It is straightforward. That means now I can use FTP program and I have access to my web server. Here, if you want, although not needed, go to public_HTML and you can actually download wp-content folder in its entirety, because that's where all your plugins, all your uploaded images, and your theme resides in. So at the end of the day, when you're moving from HTTP to HTTPS, you basically must have all the backups covered just in case, because it is a process that may require you to reinstall certain things, as in re-upload and so on, because something can go wrong, especially when you're working on live site. Yeah. You can also install maintenance mode plugin for WordPress. Basically, that plugin will simply show your website is under maintenance for an hour or two while you're moving your website. Okay, so what I'll do now is I'll log out from my own server and my website, and now, because I'm working on a client site, my valued client site, I'm going to move from HTTP to HTTPS and show you the exact steps that you also need to follow if you're using WordPress. Now, SSL certificates can be purchased from your web hosting provider for a small yearly fee, but in this example, my client has Let's Encrypt. That's a service that's made available recently. Basically, it's a free SSL certificate made available by certain web hosting providers. In my client's example, he has access to Let's Encrypt, so he doesn't have to pay to have his SSL installed. So let's press on SSL. So the procedures that I've shown you, I've already done for my valued client. Okay, let's go Let's Encrypt, select the domain, let's enable it. That's still in progress. That means Let's Encrypt SSL is being installed automatically by this web hosting provider. I'll show you a different web hosting provider, which is called DreamHost. They also have Let's Encrypt enabled. That means if you're using virtual private server, then you can actually install SSL using Let's Encrypt here as well. I have some domains already with DreamHost, and installing SSL there, as you can see, it's got HTTPS on. If it wasn't on, you can add it. This is for DreamHost. Secure hosting, let's press on that. And we've got certificate type, Let's Encrypt, for these domains under my control. Okay, so let me log out of DreamHost just to show you that regardless of your web hosting provider, procedure will be the same for Let's Encrypt, because it's done automatically for you. So now that's enabled. What does that mean? That means if I request my client site using HTTPS right now, it should work. It may take a minute or two for DNS servers to update, but that is now secure. That means visitors to my client site will no longer see a warning message, especially for Google Chrome in October. If the site is not SSL, as in HTTPS, the warning messages will come up. Microsoft Edge does the same thing as well, shows a warning message for websites that is not SSL. Now, what is next? What is next is, let's go back home to our server. Let's also look at phpMyAdmin, and let's do another export, because it only takes 2-3 clicks. You can never have enough backups. So let's go to dashboard, because we now need to change few settings for our WordPress site, because we are now logging in through HTTPS. Let's make some changes. Now my client site is now SSL and uses WooCommerce as well. So the next setting we need to go to General. It's under Settings. Let's press on General. Because here previously it was HTTP. Now we need to change that to HTTPS. Let's make changes, because this is a new site address. Let's save changes. Let's also download .htaccess file. That's why we have FileZilla, because Dreamweaver is complaining at the moment for some reason. Let me then do this. Okay, so now let's go to General Settings on WordPress. Here, okay, I made a mistake there, because that was my own site. Let me log into my client site and download this .htaccess file. As you can see, some servers will not have public underscore HTML. Because it uses WordPress, we may need to do some settings here later on. Let me just continue showing you what else you need to do. Now, there are many plugins such as Simple SSL you can install, no problems, but that's never smart. Instead, what you need to do is go to your posts, pages, and products. Let's go to edit. Now, same procedure happens for any type of website, WordPress site, right? Whether you're updating posts, pages, or your products if you're using WooCommerce. What you need to do is copy the content, and one by one, I know it's tedious work, but it has to be done. As you can see, previous internal linking head HTTP version. Now we need to update them. That includes for images as well. So if you have images within your posts, you need to update them. Image URL also needs to be HTTPS now. So let's paste that updated version. Now all the internal links are using HTTPS. Let's update that post. Once again, you do the same thing for your pages. Triple check them to make sure the new URL structure is updated on your website. Products are the same as well. You need to edit the products to update old version of HTTP. Now, let's do this. Let's view that particular post, and let's double check by pressing on F12 on our keyboard, bring the arrow key, and look at the image URL as well. Now that is using the correct version. But if you had internal images, you need to then check them as well. In this example, no. Let's go back to posts. Let's press on this particular one, because there are images in here. Okay, we need to update that as well, so I'll show you that for images. So this is an image, but it's using the old version. So once again, Control F if you're using Dreamweaver to update. So now all the URLs are updated, including images as well. This has to be done. You can preview changes to see all is working, no problems. And in this example, yes. Let's now update that particular post as well. Because as you can see, that's an image that's also being updated now. Now we've got WooCommerce data update, run the updater. Because I've done all the backups, I am confident enough that everything will work perfectly. Okay, that's being updated. What else do we need to do? Once again, all posts, pages, products, if you're using WooCommerce, need to be edited, triple checked, and the URLs must be updated, especially if you're already ranking in Google. Now, what else? Okay, let's try this tactic here. These are all precautions that you should definitely use for successful HTTPS transfer. Now, let's go and visit using a different browser. Now let's go and request HTTP version to see what happens. Let's see where it goes, because at the end of the day it should redirect to HTTPS version. Makes sense? So right now everything is working correctly. As in, Microsoft Edge is saying it's encrypted. That means it's secure instead of giving a warning there. While here, let me show you .htaccess directives that you may need to include for your own setup. depending on your setup. This directive here says if the request is not HTTPS, then if the SSL is installed, show that. You can also do redirection if the HTTPS is not on, which would look like something like this. This is, I know it's rather different. It uses 301 redirection. It's saying condition is if the HTTPS is not on, then make sure you do 301 redirection so everyone visits HTTPS. Okay, so these are two different directives. You may use either one or both. It's up to your setup. So let's continue making everything work perfectly. Once again, do your backup, install the SSL, go to settings, go to general, update the site URL. One more thing, wp-config file may have site URL here. You can, depending on your setup, define two different rules. Force SSL admin is true. That is basically saying, you know what, all the login for admins should be done through SSL now. And if you have subscribers or membership site and so on, you can define a rule and force everyone to log in through HTTPS version now. So wp-config file, you may need to use these two directives. It's totally up to you. .htaccess file may need to be updated. So from now on, no one can visit the site without HTTPS version, because everything should be directing to HTTPS version. So then the site is secure now, you see. Finally, you need to go to Webmaster Tools, because we need to do a couple of things there as well. So what I'll do, I'll log into my different, okay, I need to log into my client's Google account. In this example, I'm using my my Google account for my clients. So here, what needs to be done, I won't follow this through because I'm not gonna use my account to add a new property. But you need to log into Search Console and add a new property, and the new property will have HTTPS version. Do not delete your old property. You can leave that in its place while Google updates its database. So then once you add a new property with HTTPS version, what you then need to do is add XML sitemap. Go to crawl settings, go to sitemaps, add and test a sitemap. If you're using popular plugins such as Yoast to blurt out XML sitemap, then simply go to sitemap_index.xml. Here are the sitemaps. It is smart to grab the post sitemap and test that. If everything's okay, then submit. For your pages, products, if you're using WooCommerce, whatever you see here, you can submit a sitemap in Search Console. So now, there is a lot of work, but I'll keep this video as short as possible because I need to now go back into my client's website and update everything manually, which is a tedious work, but it has to be done. You could use plugins to sort that out, but that's never smart. Make sense? Because you want to do things properly. So let me wrap it up. You log into your web server, phpMyAdmin, do a backup. Then log into your WordPress dashboard. Under Tools section, you have Export option. Export your WordPress settings from the dashboard as well. Use httrack website copier or any other website copier to download your website. Then install SSL, whether you're using Let's Encrypt or you purchased SSL from your web hosting company. If you purchased SSL from your web hosting company, they should have set everything up for you automatically. Then go to Settings, go to General, and update website address and site URL. Then I'll show you a couple of files from the web hosting so that it makes much more sense for you. Go to File Manager, show hidden files, public_HTML, press on .htaccess file and you can edit it. If you need to do so, keep an eye out, as in pause this video and take a look at this directive for .htaccess file or this one. Use either one, test, or use both. And you could do that from your web hosting account. There's a file here called wp-config. You can right click, edit, and here you can use these two definitions. Right? What they say is every login now for admin user roles will be done through SSL. It will be forced. If you have a membership site and subscribers log into your WordPress site, that directive I've just highlighted will force everyone to log in through SSL from now on. That's for better security, just in case man-in-the-middle attack occurs for your website. Then go into your posts, pages, products if you're using WooCommerce, and update everything manually to reflect the new URL structure, which will be HTTPS. Then go to Search Console, add a new property being HTTPS version. Then add XML sitemap, test it, and submit. And this is how you move HTTP to HTTPS properly and successfully, so that your rankings do not fluctuate, nor there are any issues such as mixed content issues. And make sure your pages, as in your images, are also reflecting the new URL structure. I thank you very much for learning with me. If you benefited from this video session, please do give it a like and share it, and I'll talk with you in the next video session.